Mr. Crosby here with another practice GCSE question video. Okay, I'm sure you're getting bored of them by now, but remember, practice makes perfect, and lack of practice creates all sorts of terrible consequences for you. Okay, so I've selected here June 2010. Okay, we're going to be looking at the depth study part of the paper, Land of Freedom, the USA Land of Freedom. I'm going for question 5. You're probably aware, hopefully you are, that you must do either question 5 or question 6. You've got a choice and you've got to do A, B and C. We're going to go straight in with question A, 4-marker. Okay, describe, keyword there, the investigations into Hollywood actors, writers and producers. I've got to make 4 points. Okay, so this is just description, 4 things that happened in these investigations. I've got all sorts of examples. Okay, it was under HUAC. Okay, the claims of the FBI, they refused to answer questions, pleaded the First Amendment. Okay, 12 months for contempt of court, blacklisted by Hollywood. Some directors refused to work with them, including Walt Disney. So those are my points that I could be making. Just bear in mind also that I can get an additional mark for a supporting detail. So if I want to expand on one point, okay, if I'm struggling for 4 completely separate things, I can actually expand on a point. So I could say they were blacklisted by Hollywood, and then I could give examples of people that did not work with them, such as Walt Disney. Okay, so that would be expanding on that point. Okay, I can't just focus on a single thing and expand on it 3 times, however. Okay, so there, that's easy peasy. I have 4 marks. You just need to know your stuff, basically. Now, question B. Okay, our explain question. Okay, 6 marks, bread and butter. Okay, why support for McCarthyism declined? I've got to think of some reasons for this. Now, if I can just think of the reasons, I can get 2 or 3 marks. Okay, you could see here, identify or describe the reasons. Not everyone approved of McCarthy and his actions. Senators spoke against him. Hollywood's biggest stars protested. Some newspapers damaged his credibility. TV program, okay, humiliation in court, okay. These are all legitimate reasons for McCarthy's decline, okay. The reason you're only going to get 2 or 3 marks, however, is you haven't answered the question why. If, as a rule of thumb, I can still ask you why did that lead to a decline in McCarthy's support. Okay, if I can still ask that important question why, then I don't think I've explained it. I've just identified the reasons. You are right, but if without that explanation, you're going to be on 2 or 3 marks at the most. Okay, so getting on to question, level 3, explain one reason, 4 marks. Okay, here we can see the difference. Okay. Not everyone approved of McCarthy and his actions. We can see that this first sentence here is identical to the level 2 recommendation. Okay. It's the rest of it that turns it into an explained reason. In fact, public opinion polls showed that McCarthy never achieved more than 50% popular approving ratings at any time between 1950 and 1954. Okay, so here we've got some precise detail that's going to help us link to the question. We've got support addressed by this evidence here. Okay, I would like you to think of maybe an extra sentence here just to share it up. In fact, maybe a sentence that shows how this actually addresses the question, such as, therefore, McCarthy support with the general public was not as high as he would have liked. And that in fact brings me on to level 4. Okay, if I've got to develop one reason for 5 out of 6 marks, or explain 2, we'll come on to that in a minute, and we'll just look at the difference between this develop thing. Okay, so on television, the respected TV journalist produced a devastating program on See It Now series in 1954. Of course, referring to Ed Murrow. Now, the program consisted of many of McCarthy's own statements used to denounce his accusations. Around the same time, quality newspaper journalists produced a sensible and balanced reporting to damage McCarthy's credibility. Here we've got some incredibly precise evidence, okay? And we've also got this phrase, damage McCarthy's credibility there, which shows that he is going to have his support taken away from him. The other example about his attacks on the army, they seemed ridiculous. In televised hearings, he was humiliated by a lawyer representing the army. Even the course burst into applause when McCarthy was accused of having no decency. This lost him all his credibility and finished him as a political force. I love that last sentence there. I think any answer should have a sentence like that to finish it off, really to actually address this why question and leave no doubts that you understand the link between the reason and actually what you're trying to explain. Okay, so if we just look very quickly at level 5 for our 6 marks, all this is asking for is either you can offer 3 basic explanations or 1 developed and 1 basic explanation. Okay, what I recommend you do is just aim for 2 developed explanations, 2 reasons well explained. That covers this last bit with enough leeway to make them completely convinced that they're going to give you the 6 marks. Okay, so we've got to have 2 reasons explained for this type of question. Okay, so what I want you to do is pause the video and look at your answer. Did you come up with your 2 reasons? Okay, here are some ideas if you didn't. Okay, there's plenty there to go on. Okay, if you did, how well did you explain it? How precise was your explanation, and how well did you link it back to the question? Do you have a sentence like that at the end that really nails the issue? Okay, so pause it, compare with the person next to you if you're working in pairs, and come up with some targets for each other to help each other out. Right, now we're on to question C. Okay, this is our 10 marker, and you should be aware by now that you're going to be picking either question 5 or 6 on the section, and your decision should be based predominantly on this 10 marker. How well can you answer this 10 marker question? Because the vast majority of the, well, half of the whole marks for this question are on part C. Okay, so we can see we've got a statement here. Events outside America were more important than developments in America in creating fear of communism. How far do you agree with this statement? Okay, it's a how far question, and we've got to explain our answer. Okay, so the first thing we need to be thinking of is do we know how the fear of communism was created? What are the actual causes of this, and can we explain them? Now, if we can just tell the examiner what led to the fear of communism, we can get 2 or 3 marks. So we've got some examples here. There was a strong anti-communist movement with the FBI leading to loyalty boards, the role of HUAC in relation to Hollywood, the part played by McCarthy, the role of spies, the Rosenbergs. Okay, very famous case there. So here are some potential reasons, okay? But like in question B, we've not actually explained them. We're still wanting to know why this created a fear in communism. I'm still left asking that question, okay? Which brings us on to level 3 for 4 or 6 marks. And here we've got some much better explanations. So here we've got 2 really good paragraphs that actually explain the creation of fear of communism using 2 separate factors and very precise detail. We've got the Hiss case here. Okay, so his case investigated by HUAC pursued by Nixon here, and the fact that Hiss was at least accused of passing information to the USSR, okay, and the fact that he has a conviction of perjury, 5 years in prison. Okay, another one down here, the development of the atomic bomb. Okay, earlier than it expected. Okay, they thought it was going to take a few more years to get the atomic bomb finished off, and that they thought there was some sort of spies involved, and that led to the Rosenberg case. Okay, so here we've got two things that really get to the heart of the development of the fear of communism. So my first target is going to be reasons. Okay, I'll put in brackets the specific case in this instance. So for the creation of the fear of communism. Okay, obviously more generally we want reasons. Okay, but in this case it's the creation. Just be aware in this instance that it is talking about the creation, so we don't want to be talking about anything too late. Stick to these early, late 40s predominantly incidents or early 50s, so we're not going to be going into anything later than that. Now, you also should have noticed that we've got a bit of a mix here in the two paragraphs. So we've got a Hiss case at home, we've also got the development of the atomic bomb abroad. Not only that, but there's a bit of a mix-up because Hiss is passing to the USSR whilst the Rosenbergs are being tried back in America. So it's not clear-cut, but you can see here that we've got arguments for both events outside America and developments in America. Okay, and we've got to weigh them up. So our next target has to be to argue for and against. Okay, so next target, argue for and against. So we don't want to be presenting a one-sided argument. Okay, you can get a total of 6 marks by arguing one side, but we want to be aiming for over here. Now, this is an early mark scheme, but more recent mark schemes have stated that 8 marks is the cap here for answers that do not show balance. What does it mean by balance? Well, this means that I can't make my argument for massively outweigh my argument against, or vice versa. I've got to dedicate a sufficient amount of my answer to both sides. Okay, so what my next target is going to be is, have I included balance? Okay, do I have sufficient balance in my answer? Okay, I'm going to need that. Now, it doesn't mean that I have to be completely indecisive. In fact, we'll come on to it in a minute, we want to be the opposite. Okay, it doesn't also mean that I have to agree with both sides of the argument. What you're really doing in the exam is showing you're aware of the different perspectives of a key historical question. So you're going to have arguing for and against, and you're going to give sufficient attention to both. Okay, and that brings us on to our golden 10 marks. Okay, everyone wants to get 10 marks. How do we do it? Well, evaluation, how far? So our final bit of our answer must state, come to some sort of conclusion based around this how far statement. Okay, so our final target should be a justified conclusion. Okay, so I always put justified conclusion because although the exam doesn't give that much advice about answering this how far evaluation, okay, I feel that a justified conclusion really shores this up. What do I mean by justified? Well, what I mean is you cannot just restate one of the reasons in your paragraph. So if I was to say that, well, it was actually events outside America were more important, okay, because the atomic bomb was developed, and then I just give the same reasons I've already given in my answer already. I'm not stating anything new. What I want to be doing in my conclusion is to show how these outweigh those in America. Why are they more important? So I could say that the developments beyond American borders could appear to be more destructive for the stability of the world. There was a greater majority of communists in these countries, or something like that. Something that lets me state why one side of the argument actually overpowers the other side. Okay, so this brings us to the end of the video. So I want you to, when it stops, I want you to go through this question, compare it to a partner if you've got one, and just look, what reasons did you have? Are there some reasons here that you missed that you could have drawn on? Okay, these are all things that we've covered. Okay, do we need to go back and check them? Were we able to develop them using precise, and did we bring it back to this question? Were we explaining our reasons? Okay, did we have a balanced argument, and how was our conclusion? Did it just state what we'd already said and not really add anything, or was it firm, justified, and left no doubt in the examiner's mind as to our final judgment? Okay, so once you've done that, come up with some targets for the next time you do a 10-mark question, and then maybe you want to, in pairs, maybe think about redrafting one of your questions so that you can rewrite that, implementing the targets already, and then you can come and see me and see if you've improved your mark on that one. Okay, thanks for listening.